The Lord be with you. That's just so magical. That's such a way to get everybody gathered. We are going to, as we continue to gather and get our seats, and as the room continues to get cleared a bit, we're going to start off with some of our reports, and our first one is by the Reverend Terry Garner, who's going to come and give his report on safeguarding God's children.
May I? Thank you. Thanks, Jenna.
Thank you.
There we go. I'm Terry Garner, and I'm here more to be a cheerleader for Safe Church and Safe Communities than anything else. Now, I once had Presiding Bishop Catherine Jeffords Shorey tell me that a deacon is a good nag. So you can use whichever label you want for me, I don't care, or something in between. But let's talk a little bit about where we are with now Safe Church, Safe Communities. Turns out that we've had safeguarding God's children and safeguarding God's people for, let's just say, too long. I don't want to go back to the number of years we've been doing this. So what happens is that things go slowly as you might expect. But in 2015, the General Convention of the Episcopal Church created a task force to update what we're doing for preventing sexual misconduct with young people as well as with vulnerable adults. Fast forward now, it takes a little bit of time to create new policies, and then it takes more time to create training for those policies so we know how to work with them. And so what that brings us to is now today, we in the Diocese of Milwaukee have policies. But let's pause a minute. It's not just us.
And I know when Jesus said, wherever two or three gather together in my name, there I am in the midst of it. And he wasn't talking specifically about Safe Church, but he was giving us a good guiding principle. It's important for us to be in community. And part of Safe Church training is to make sure that we're always in community, if you will.
And so we want to be considering this, how do we do this together? As we as a community to make all welcome and all safe. So as I said, we have now in the diocese updated policies. I have examples here and back at the table, both for the prevention of sexual misconduct with children and youth, as well as with vulnerable adults. And that might sound a little bit different from you all who've been through the Safeguarding God's programs. We're not here to go into detail, but what you'll recognize when you do go and look through these policies that we now have in the diocese, which are compliant and consistent with what we have for the Episcopal Church, you'll see some familiar terms like you see on the screen now. But there may be some terms that will be new to this kind of concept, like theological foundations all the way through to audits, and what's that really going to be all about? And we'll live into that as we grow into that. It's not going to be, boom, we start right away, but we do want you all and your parishes and your ministries to start looking at these and trying to update how do we implement these policies throughout our diocese. So what do you need to do? And the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is to pray. And I want you to pray and give thanks. Give thanks that we are able to do this, that we are able to offer these types of environments for our ministries and for our communities to keep those who are vulnerable, such as young people or adults, safe, as well as to keep all of us safe when we're ministering with them. So let's give thanks that we have such a diverse population within our own ministries. We also, let's give thanks that we have within our ministries people who are victims, as well as people who are offenders. Let us lift them up in our prayers as well, because they certainly do deserve and need prayers with us. The next thing I want you to do is you want to download and review the policies. And you'll find these on the diocesan website, DioMil, and there is a Safe Church web page where you can find a lot of resources. We'll talk a little bit about those. But download them, review them, We're not going to be providing and killing a bunch of trees by providing a bunch of hard copy. Next, take the training, register for it, and take it. You can see the diocesan website there where you can go ahead and register. And then take it into your own place. What does it look like, or how's it going to look like in your own parish or in your own ministry, and update your own policies. And if you don't have policies, now's a great time to implement them and to create them based on these new policies. So who should take this training? Well, the easy answer to that, of course, is everybody. But I'm a pragmatist at heart, even though I do like to be a little bit dreamy. And so who to start off would really be good? And I have a listing back there at the table if you really want to think about who all is involved. But you all would be a good start. Just by virtue of you being a representative of your parish, you should be taking Safe Church training. Ministry leaders, employees, all the above really is what it is. And this is what that list not only looks like, but what the trainings are that each individual ministry should be taking. So the what of it then is that these courses are now available online. We're not getting folks together to do like we did the Safeguarding God's Children of workshops in person and that kind of stuff. Everything is available, and they're like 20 to 25 minute segments that you take for each course depending upon how you register online. So they're specific for your ministries, and of course you can see that there's going to be a lot of overlap. The fun thing, to me, is that it makes each of us accountable and responsible. It's up to us. It's up to you as an individual. When you register, you are going to have an account created for you with our learning partner, Presidium Academy. And that is your account to take wherever you go and wherever you are. It's yours forever. But you can manage your own training, you can print your own completion certificates or your own transcripts as needed. So you don't have to call up Gracie at the diocesan office and say, well, hey, can you give me I need course completions that I did in 1999. We don't do that anymore. You have your own account where you can do that. So, online at the Safe Church web page that we have for the diocese, we do have a number of items that you can use that may or may not be helpful for you. That's totally up to you. It's your option. So on the website, you will find the registration, as I mentioned before. You will find the policies, and these are not only just in PDF form, which is the kind of the official form, but you also find them in a web form, or excuse me, a Microsoft Word document, so that you can use those, download them, and adapt those for your own parish policy if that's what you choose to do. Or not, that's really up to you. It's an offer for you. But you also find some other spreadsheets for tracking the people in your own ministry or parish of who's taken what training and when. You can also see fillable forms. So if you want to post a form that says that if you're working in these youth ministries, here are contact people and their contact information for whoever is in charge and if you need to reach out to somebody. And that's for you to fill in for your own parish or ministry. And of course, we have the entire web page there is available. Ultimately, if you have questions, concerns, or whatever, here's our email address. And that will go to me, and I'm more than happy to be a resource for you all as well. And if you have questions or whatever, during the breaks, I will be back at the table there next to the camera. So that's what you have available for you to start into this new world of safe church and safe communities. So thanks for your attention. I'll look forward to your questions as time goes on. Don't want to take that.
Thank you, Terry, for that report and the good work that you have been doing. Now I'd like to introduce Canon Scott Liana to give his report.
I think Sarah's going to do that.
I think you're going to. Press the arrow. You can see right here.
Is that me? Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm learning. Hey, as I get started, any new lay deputies to convention this year? Anybody here for the very first time as a lay deputy? Excellent, welcome. So good to have you here. We have also occasionally introduced new clergy to our diocesan convention. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is Michael called, these are all the reverends in front of their names, okay? But I'm not going to do that every single time. So, Michael Caldwell is back in the Diocese of Milwaukee. He is at Holy Cross, Wisconsin Dells. Michael, you want to give a, there we go. Liz Mead at Holy Communion in Lake Geneva. Welcome, Liz. Great to have you with us. Mary Davis, St. John's in Burlington. Any other parish priests that I have missed? All right. We have a transitional deacon in our midst. That means he's a deacon who is preparing down the road for ordination to the priesthood. Deacon Ryan Delaney. And if I'm not mistaken, we have two vocational or permanent deacons at their first diocesan convention as deacons. Rebecca Terhune. Lynn Zobel. And one other transitional deacon, Meredith Harmon, was ordained a deacon and will be preparing for priesthood. Excellent. All right. Anyone else? Perfect. Okay, here goes my report. I will do my best to keep things moving along. Let us pray. God of our salvation, of infinite diversity and surprises, thank you for this time together today. We know you are present with us and at work among us. Please help guide us today and always. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. On January 1st of 2023, I became canon to the ordinary in the diocese. Prior to that, I was working in the role of canon for ministries. Canon to the ordinary, so far in my experience, is a catch-all for lots of things. We might call this canon for all sorts and manner of things, but canon to the ordinary seems a little easier. My areas of responsibility include working with parishes in preparing for and in the midst of clergy transitions, offering support, encouragement, and mentoring to clergy and lay leaders, working with the Commission on Ministry to oversee timelines and guidance for people in the ordination process, coordination of the diocesan resource team and parish support team. I act as case manager in the event of a Title IV case. I work to maintain contact with diocesan seminarians and people in the ordination process. I seek to draw close to congregations that are struggling in a variety of ways. I serve on the steering committee for the often mentioned tri-diocesan reunion proposal, offer counsel to the ecclesiastical authority, which at this time is the standing committee, Sunday morning visitations in our congregations. I coordinate the New Beginnings initiative. I act as chief of staff for our diocesan staff, an incredibly effective, resourceful, and skilled group of people. I work closely with our CFO and have been meeting with parishes to share important data with leadership around attendance, giving trends, and to offer support with imagining structural changes, stewardship ministry, and a variety of other possible interventions. And then there are just lots of other things we might call other duties as assigned. Transition ministry. This is the term we use to talk about the process of discernment, preparation, and holy conversation that is part of calling a priest to serve in a parish. You may recall that in 2021, 23 of our 49 parishes were without a priest. There were 10 completed calls in 2021, 12 in 2022, and in 2023 we have completed 6. Currently we have 1 vacancy in the diocese. Our sisters and brothers at St. Boniface Mequon continue their search for a rector. They are a wonderful, loving, engaged group of people. Spread the word. There are 3 parishes in our diocese without a priest, and they're not seeking to call one at this time. These are small congregations that have found that it is best for them to function by utilizing supply clergy and to have occasional lay-led morning prayer services. Campus ministry is taking place across the diocese in very significant ways, more so than has been the case in a long time. UW-Madison, Marquette University, UW-Milwaukee, UW-Whitewater, and the newest addition, UW-Platteville, are being served. The Reverend Bobby Kraft, Diocesan Young Adult and Campus Ministry Advisor, has submitted a report to you along with other campus ministers. They are at a table back there. Yeah, they are. All right. Reverend Madeline Burbank is back there. Nate Devine. And Reverend Christian Maxfield is out in the crowd as well. So talk to them about what's going on and listen to their stories. We have a diocesan resource team that meets regularly with me. They strive to maintain a broader view of the diocese. It's comprised of lay members and clergy, and they kind of work, we might say, sort of more from the balcony view. They have worked on developing resources, policies, and guidance around a host of issues. They're interested in sharing information about the characteristics of healthy congregations, parish strategic development ideas, and the notion of strategic development and right-sizing in terms of parish ministry and resources. This team is also assisted working on areas of our common life, such as formation for the diaconate, resource days around safety training and other offerings, a process for seeking financial assistance, parish ministry reviews, currently in process, and more. The parish support team, think of them as kind of down on the ground. They focus on the ground level of parish life. This is also comprised of lay people and clergy. They reach out to and assist individual congregations. They oversee congregational ministry grants, act as liaisons to parishes that are in strategic development or a Canon 8 relationship, at a point in transition, or with recently called clergy. So the thinking in these 2 teams was that not everything goes through one person, but that we have a more dispersed and shared model of accountability and decision-making. Strategic development. At this time in our diocese, 8 parishes are receiving some form of financial assistance. This is down from 10 last year. And of this year's number, 4 are set to receive less in 2024 than they did in 2023. And this is because they're getting stronger and better equipped to meet their financial obligations. The 4 that are not going to see a decrease in aid are not increasing. They are set to stay at the same level in 24 as they did this year. Each of these parishes regularly receive contact from me, from our Chief Financial Officer, Caroline, from the previously mentioned parish support teams, and we do regular check-ins with them, attending vestry meetings, hearing how things are going, and trying to walk alongside and offer support and encouragement where we can. New Beginnings is not the junior high retreat that some of you might recall. This is actually a program for priests that are either new to a parochial assignment or newly ordained. We get together regularly for giving folks a chance to connect with each other, share in relationship, talk about what's happening ministerially in their lives, and just to sort of act as a source of support and encouragement. The Reverend Gary Manning and I coordinate this. We often include a text as part of our gatherings. Right now we're reading an excellent book called The Nearness of God by Julia Gatta. I strongly recommend it. After this current group of 7 priests kind of works their way through New Beginnings, 22 of the clergy in our diocese will have completed this process. The hope then is that as we come to a conclusion, folks will then be motivated to continue to connect with each other on their own. It can be just a very supportive and encouraging experience to sit down and be able to talk and pray with folks who are experiencing many of the same things that you are. I try to be a source of support and mentoring for the clergy in our diocese. Whether that's a cup of coffee, a telephone call, or perhaps trying to make available some resources, we have really an amazing and a very, very gifted presbyterate, and I want to do all that I can to be of support and encouragement to them. Sunday mornings. I love Sunday mornings. I get to go to the various parishes throughout the diocese. I either offer myself as a supply priest, and I am not compensated for that. That is part of what we offer as a diocesan staff. But I either offer myself as a supply priest, giving me an opportunity to celebrate worship and preach in a congregation, and then meet with perhaps lay leaders or vestry afterwards. Or I will go and be a preacher and offer the priest in the parish a morning off that way. As of today, I will have been in parishes within our diocese on 34 Sundays so far, and I've got the rest of the year pretty well scheduled out. Works in progress. Our diocese is in kind of a liminal or an in-between place right now. If we vote to move forward with today's resolution regarding reunion, or if we opt not to do that, we will continue to be in a liminal place, either moving toward a special spring convention on reunion, or not moving ahead and beginning the process to call the next bishop of Milwaukee. We're going to continue to be in that in-between place. This is important to note. My goal, as we continue in this liminal place and move forward, is to provide you with ministry that is clear, pastoral, and competent. And my door is open. I hope you know, those of you who have contacted me, I think know, that I strive to return emails and phone calls pretty quickly. I strive to be as responsive as I possibly can, because I think my job is to offer support, encouragement, guidance, and leadership. And I want to do that in a way that is rooted in the redemptive love of Jesus Christ. I regularly pray for the parishes in our diocese, for the lay leaders, and for the clergy who serve in them. If I can be of support or assistance, please reach out. And if I don't know the answer to a question, I have found it incredibly freeing to say, I don't know, but let me look into that and I'll get back to you. Oops. The last slide should say thank you. I've been serving as your canon since July of 2021. I've been engaged in this in a full-time process since July 1st of 2022. Along with a talented, dedicated, and skilled staff, it is my honor to be of service in this way at this time in our common life. In some ways, it feels to me like I've been at this for a longer period of time than I have. Maybe an example of the expression that time flies when one is having fun. There are challenges, to be sure, but I love my job. It is my blessing and my honor to be of service in this way. So there ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott, for that report and for everything that you are doing for us in the diocese. We are now going to go to our second round of voting, so I call now upon John Washbush to lead us through that.
All right, you'll need to secure your devices again so that you can make sure you are ready to vote. We have 4 ballots to cast. Of the 4 ballots we are casting, 3 of them are for elections. 1 of them is informational to help inform an earlier election. And so we have Executive Council in the lay order, Standing Committee in the clergy order, Trustees of Funds and Endowments, and General Convention alternates to decide some things about. We're going to begin with Executive Council in the lay order. We had 1 position filled on our first ballot. That leaves 1 position left to fill. Because this is our second ballot, the slate of candidates has been reduced to twice the number that we're filling, so 2 people. And so you have the opportunity to vote now in the Executive Council in lay order. Ah, okay.
Refresh your phone, maybe. Refresh the page. If you're having trouble with this, please raise your hand so we can get somebody to help you. Keep your hands raised if you are needing it.
Do we know how the footage is? The footage is? Great.
And Malak is still talking. Not in a bad way, they're just not close to voting yet because they have all the business.
Well, as far as yes, that is great. I would suspect Todd Blackwell.
I would think so.
That leaves us. Yes.
Honestly, I haven't heard anyone who has said anything on the phone that even
I think there's just a lot of questions about the process and stuff, but I don't think they're opposed to the actual reunification. That's my sense.
yeah.
Once again, we'll ask if anybody is continuing to have trouble. Would you please raise your hand? We have a couple in that area. Okay. We've almost hit our expected number of votes, so it can't be too many people.
Who's there? Yep, he's there helping. Yep.
That's really sad that Jenna's going to stay. You know what I mean? It's like we're right in the heart of it.
And they've already determined
I was wondering.
That's coming out the way it should have.
Because
So that's good.
All right. Excellent.
what's going on.
That's the complication. That's the complication. The lost connection to the dial.
Oh, so if they're on computers. Damn.
So he's getting into the
Or switch to the Marriott. Or switch to the Marriott one. So what I've just been told is that those people who are attempting to vote from a laptop or other device that does not have its own data connection and were on the dial mill internet connection, that perhaps that connection is unstable and that's what you've lost. So you might try reconnecting there, and if that doesn't work, try the Marriott Bonvoy connection for those devices, and that might be able to get you back in line. We are not far off. In fact, we have pretty much reached the number I would have expected to come in. So are there more people who are still experiencing difficulty?
I think over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
you know, you could almost come in the middle of the day. You wouldn't have to be here for the whole day. You know? You're so right. Except, you know, it's nice that you get to see the people and you get to see.
I don't see circulating tech staff any longer. Oh, we still have one. Okay. Anyone else need additional time to connect a device? Seeing, Gracie, were you okay at your, are we still waiting or are we okay on your side?
That makes sense.
Like tempos, like
Yeah.
temporal.
Right. Oh, for. Yeah. Is May 17th? When you were talking, there's just no way. She's out of high school almost.
Okay, we got a thumbs up from that side. Everybody else okay? All right, then we can close this ballot. And elected to Executive Council in a lay order is Christine Krieger. Our next ballot is for standing committee in the clergy order. We have one position left to fill, so we are down to 2 candidates.
That's weird. Because you wouldn't think they'd be connected. Well, I can cut this stuff off. I don't feel like, are you gonna sit here or are you gonna get up?
I'll get up, and I'm not gonna use my slides. I'm just going to the key points and continue button.
And this one seems to be progressing smoothly. Is anyone encountering technical difficulties at this point? Looks like there might be one up in the front. All right. Last seconds in which to cast a ballot. Then I believe when Scott's available, because he's helping one person yet. Okay, then we can close this ballot as well. And elected to the standing committee in the clergy order is the Reverend Miranda Hassett. Our next ballot is for trustees of funds and endowments. We have one position remaining to fill, so we have reduced the ballot to 2 candidates. I won't be here for the whole debate. I'm going to go and sit down once they're on the floor. And we're close to our expected number of votes, so if you will make your final selection at this point. Walmart will be closing in 15 minutes. Please make your final selections and bring them to the register. So. Okay, I believe we can close this ballot as well then. Elected to the trustees of funds and endowments is Laura Johnson. And that leaves our last ballot, but not an election, the lay order of alternate deputies to General Convention. You have already elected them by unanimous consent earlier in the day. We do need to order them for the General Convention. In this particular circumstance, which is exactly spelled out in our rules of order for what happens if we have the same number of people as we have positions but can't rank them by votes that way, there is a voting procedure that's specified for us. And it is that you will see all 4 deputies who have volunteered to serve and are all elected. All you are expressing is your preference for the top deputy, the one that you would like to see actually attend convention. So you will cast only a single vote, and it's not really a vote, it's a preference among the 4 of them. They are all elected. So who would be your top preference for a deputy? And so those alternates are in front of you at this point, and that preferential ballot is open. And we're almost there. If you would express your preference for who you would like to see as our first alternate lay deputy. If you would make your selection for your preference for first alternate lay deputy, that's all you're expressing with this ballot. We're not quite to the expected number of ballots yet. Okay, there has not been a recorded new ballot in a little bit that has been passed on to my tablet, so I would say we can go ahead and close this one. And so your preference has ranked the 4 elected lay deputies in this order. First alternate lay deputy, Jill Underly. Second alternate lay deputy, Janet Finn. Third alternate lay deputy, Sharon Johnson. And fourth alternate lay deputy, Mary Metz. It's pronounced that way. And that should conclude all of our balloting on elections for the day.
Thank you, John. And while you're here, will you now give us a report from the Resolutions Committee?
So switching hats. The Resolutions Committee is charged with 3 tasks. Determining if those things that are submitted for our convention to consider are fit business for the convention. Not everything people would like to discuss actually falls within our domain. Secondly, working with the authors of the resolutions to put them in appropriate form. And then finally, determining the order of their presentation. So since we didn't add any new resolutions to the day, we have 3 to report out as a committee to you. The first resolution that will come before you for your consideration is the Migration with Dignity resolution. The second will be the 2024 Clergy Minimum Compensation resolution. And the third would be the Trialogue Reunification resolution. And this concludes the report of the Resolutions Committee.
Thank you. And thank you to all of the committees on resolution for your service to the convention. Again, I'm going to recognize John Washbush for the purpose of clarifying the conduct of business and debate.
This is a different me. This is back to parliamentarian me now. Okay. As we consider debate on the resolutions that come before you, it's the job of the body to kind of make them fit your will. And so you have an opportunity to work on amending them and perfecting them, to speak in favor of their adoption, and to speak in opposition to their adoption. The other option would be to ask clarifying questions or to make a parliamentary motion of some kind. We have in the past sometimes done this with different colored cards indicating your preference. We didn't think that would be necessary for these today. So there are 3 microphones scattered around the fringes of the room to hopefully make it easier to walk around rather than through tables. And so one of them is off to the side about halfway back on this side. The second is off to the side about halfway back over there. And the third is right up in the front. As we go into the debate on and consideration of these motions, you can speak only once on each resolution, so I'd ask you to choose your moment when you'd like to speak. When you come to a microphone, I'd ask you to please give your name and parish affiliation, and then declare if you are speaking in favor or in opposition to the matter before us at the time, or if you intend to make a question or make a motion. You can go to any one of the 3 mics, whatever works best for you to be able to find a traffic pattern that works. And there is the only time limit we have on speeches is that they can't go longer than 2 minutes. I don't know that we've hit that time limit in the last decade or so, but you are free to go. The only thing that is out of order for this portion of our debate is it is not permissible for anyone to rise to what is known as calling the question, seek to end debate before its natural conclusion. When we have run out of speakers to hear on a particular topic, we will move to a vote automatically, and so any request to end the voting early will be ruled out of order. So the design is to allow everyone to express their thoughts without anyone using a tool to artificially cut off input from others. So everyone's voice should be heard. And with that, we are open to debate.
Excellent. So now we will proceed with the consideration of the resolutions in the order that they are appointed. Resolution 1 has been placed before you by the Resolutions Committee. Because the committee has brought it to you as a part of its report, it is considered moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this resolution? I see someone. Yes, please.
Yeah, I just want to give a point of clarity as the one who's...
Can you introduce yourself, please?
I'm sorry. I'm Matthew Buterbaugh, St. Luke's Racine Hospitality Center, Racine. I just want to give a point of clarity about what this resolution is about. It is, and I will just say I did not write it, it came out of the Migration Ministry Network of Province 5, and I'm our representative to the Provincial Executive Board, and that's why I had submitted it. What this resolution does is it asks General Convention, our diocese, as well as Several other dioceses in Province 5 are submitting an identical resolution, so this is one that we will see coming from across the province. And what it is doing is asking General Convention to provide a framework for which we can then make decisions around statements regarding migration. And so you'll see this language would allow General Convention to say, you know, in the past we've made various statements around migration issues, and this particular resolution would ask General Convention to use these guidelines in particular for any future resolution.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Roger Mukasa.
Can you come up to the microphone just a little bit more, Roger? Thank you.
Roger Mukasa, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I rise in support of the Migration with Dignity resolution. What stands out for me, though, is that we are advocating for migration with dignity, and as a former refugee, what I feel is missing is us advocating for safe places for people so that they don't have to migrate. It may be out of order for this resolution, but I felt I should stand and raise that as a point that troubles me about the focus on advocating for migration with dignity without necessarily taking a position about people living in conditions that necessitate migration. Thank you for considering that.
Thank you, Roger. Please.
Good afternoon. My name is John Donahue. I'm with St. Peter's Episcopal Church, Fort Atkinson.
Might come a little closer to the mic.
John Donahue, St. Peter's Episcopal Church, Fort Atkinson. Is that good? Perhaps a question. I mean, who could argue with migration with dignity? Who could argue with that concept? However, looking at supporting document number 3, and I speak not only as a member of this congregation, this family, but a 27-year veteran of the United States Army, so I've supported the Constitution by oath. The first bullet on supporting document number 3, this is page 9 of 15 in the packet. Deplore any action by the government of the United States which unduly emphasizes enforcement. I think it is a duty of the United States to support enforcement of its borders and its national integrity. In the absence of doing that, I believe that we come full circle again to bring into question the safety and security of those who do immigrate to this country. So I just wanted to make that point as to safeguarding our own national borders.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak for or against? Yes, please.
Sherilyn Stanley, Christchurch, Delavan. And in response to the last comment, if I read the bullet correctly, it unduly emphasizes enforcement, including militarization, as the primary response to immigration. As one who grew up on the border in Texas, those should not be our primary responses. We need to find a way for legal immigration into this country.
Thank you.
Father Steve Capitelli, St. Albans, Sussex, St. Francis, Menominee Falls. I rise in support of the resolution, and I would simply remind the convention that the one whom we call Savior and Lord was at one time a migrant and a refugee. Thank you.
Yes, please.
My name is Gus Gustafson, and I am actually very new to this diocese. I haven't even been here a year yet, and they already got me doing this stuff. And I'm from St. Francis in Menominee Falls. Before I was here, I came from All Saints Episcopal Church in Las Vegas, Nevada. Our priest in charge is an immigrant. He is Rafael Piera from Venezuela. He came as a refugee. His wife came as an undocumented refugee. My church, as I was clerk, had ICE visit a couple of times, and I was the one at the gate telling them to go away with an unconstitutional warrant for our records to find these people who just were looking for a better home for themselves. So I stand in support of this resolution, most heartedly.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or debate? Then I would call upon Mr. Washbush to lead us through for the vote. Okay, we're going to call for the vote then. Oh, we're doing it by voice. All those in favor of the Resolution 1, Migration with Dignity Resolution, say aye. Aye. Any oppose? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Yeah, now we have Resolution 2, the 2024 Clergy Minimum Compensation Act. Again, because the committee has brought it to you as part of its report, it is considered moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Not for these two particular ones, correct?
We wouldn't need to. The order of voting preference is by voice first. So we wouldn't, the ballot was developed should we need a division of the House. If the voice vote was not conclusive, we would be able to divide it absolutely. The voice vote was conclusive, so we don't need to move on to a ballot on the device. Okay, so, okay. Are there two additional deputies who would support voting for that one? Now, I'm asking because it's a parliamentary thing to request a vote by what is known as a division of the House, a vote by ballot. Stand with me. That's one? That's two. Okay, then we can go back and reconsider the last vote by use of the electronic ballot as a division of the House.
John, I have to reload it.
Yeah, I do too.
So Scott, we're going back to Resolution 1.
The thing about our churches,
Okay.
people get to actually say what they think.
John,
We get
several of
vote
us
on
now have to
something.
reload it. Several of us got rid of it because we.
Okay, then
thought
we'll
we
give
were
it a
done.
couple minutes.
Okay.
Maybe I'm still in. That would be nice.
As we wait for those people who logged out of the app to log back into it again, and I know there are a handful at least who did that, just as information for the chair, for consideration of the clergy compensation resolution that is to follow, and you can express this just by voice, would it be your preference to again use the voting devices for that one rather than take voice as a first vote? Okay, it is entirely the president's discretion which one goes first, but now she's been informed by your opinion, so thank you.
Do we have the results yet?
Grabbed one tablet, not the other one. Where'd it go? Oh, I do have it with me. It was under my arm.
Okay. 2023.
Thank you. What is my last name?
We are nearly at the expected number of ballots based on our last voting, so congratulations to those people who needed to get back into the app for how swiftly you were able to accomplish that.
All right, approve.
Just because it is pretty conclusive.
Okay.
See if the 198 doesn't move for a little while then.
All right. All right. We're going to close this then, and we have approval for the resolution at 87%. Thank you. And now we're going to go back to Resolution 2, our 2024 Clergy Minimum Compensation Resolution. It has been submitted by the committee, and so it is considered moved and seconded. And now, is there any discussion on this resolution? Okay. Hearing and seeing nobody coming to their mics, then I would call for the vote that will be on our devices.
That's right.
Or someone could stand up and ask for a larger increase. That could happen in both ways.
It's part of their service. They should be giving. The first 3 years, they should be.
They should just be doing it for free.
And again, if you're having any
Learning
trouble
the
with this,
ropes.
please raise your hand so that we can attend to that.
Right, don't you think?
Well, here's the problem. More clergy, as they put it, are getting off the escalator than are getting on. If we stop, we've got no chance.
In this day and age, do you see what you hear about places where the young are called, they're drawn to them lifestyle. Yeah, it's crazy.
If you have not submitted your vote yet, please do so. Okay, we are going to close the voting, and the resolution is approved at 94%. Thank you. And now I recognize again Mr. Washbush for the purpose of noting the placement of the adoption of the budget at this time to give more individual and specific time to our trilogue unification vote.
And that's pretty much what I was going to tell you, that the budget is coming here so that it can be dispensed with. It has, according to the rules of order, some times that are set aside for it, that it has a maximum but not a minimum time. So the consideration of the budget is done in 3 stages. There's an initial presentation that has about a 15-minute time limit. There is an opportunity for questions that are clarifying questions only for 10 minutes. And then there is debate about the budget that cannot exceed an hour. So we will take the consideration of the budget next, so that as we go into resolution number 3, as it was ordered, and there is no other significant business remaining except it to focus on. There are a couple of things when we get to the debate of it that I'll let you know, but initially we'll begin with the presentation and questions.
I now call upon Ms. Caroline Sen, Chief Financial Officer, to present the budget.
Thank you, St. Paul's Watertown.
I'm not going to talk for an awfully long time about the budget, and the reason is I'm going to assume most people read the document. And the way the document was put together, it was kind of in a summary level down into the detail. And the people who want to see detail, it's all there. I'm not going to take up a lot of airtime here by going through something that you already have in front of you. What I would like to say about the budget is I think that it really demonstrates just the next step in the change that the diocese has seen in terms of how it uses its resources, its financial resources. The general thrust of the last 2 years has been to reduce any expenditure which is not really mission focused directly. So in other words, people like me, overhead, even though I do a lot of work for a lot of parishes, technically I'm an overhead. And what we've really tried to do is to really understand the sources of the funds that we have, particularly funds that flow from endowments, with or without restrictions, funds that are meant to be spent on certain types of ministry and mission activity, such as campus ministry, Christian formation, things like that. And to try to make sure that we're optimising the use of those funds through the programs in our parishes. So, thanks. So overall, I think what we've seen is that since the 2022 budget, we have seen an increase in the amount or the percentage of our budget that's going towards programs out in the parishes. So the restructuring of the diocesan office, the contemplation of our relocation to a parish, to the offices in a parish, taking ourselves out of a large, expensive mansion, a bit of a relic of the past, where the bishop used to live back in the 1800s, having a decentralised mode of operation. I'm a good example of that. I mostly work remotely. My customers are all of the parishes. The parishes are spread all over the diocese geographically. If we reunify and become the Episcopal Diocese of Wisconsin, then we will have 99 parishes pretty evenly dispersed across the entire state. So where I'm physically located is kind of immaterial. That means that we don't have to spend lots of money on infrastructure. And what we are instead doing is ensuring that we maximise the flow of our resources into the parishes via grants, via support, financial support, and of course, not to forget to mention the global mission work that we do. I'm going to leave the budget there because people can ask questions later. What I now want to talk about is I want to talk about the way we operate. We are a church of committees. That's something that's really I didn't really understand quite fully when I started doing this work coming from a corporate background, but I see now that it's right from the very top of the Episcopal Church where you've got the bicameral structure of the House of Bishops, the House of Deputies. People vote on things, they reach consensus, they get a voice, they get to vote. And that flows all the way down into this convention today, our structure with the Executive Council full of elected members, Standing Committee, elected members, and my favourite group of people, the Finance Committee. They're actually appointed members because to be on Finance Committee, you'd want to have a specific sort of background where you have some credentials to do that type of finance work. And I have asked them, those of them who could make it to be here today, so that I would ask them to stand up and be recognised for the wonderful work they've done over the last 2 years. Darcy Becker, our new treasurer, has been on Finance Committee for the last year. Darcy, thank you so much. Kathleen Kelm from Good Shepherds on Prairie, been on Finance Committee 2 years. Thank you so much, Kathleen. I'm not sure if Peter Larson's here. If he is here, I think hopefully he knows he's been elected to something else. And that he does not try to get out of the Finance Committee, because he's got a wonderful background also to be on Finance Committee. He's a financial services professional as well. Seth Flanders from Whitefish Bay. Hello, Seth. Thank you so much, Seth. access an engineer with a highly analytical skill set, which I'm about to spend lots of time using in the future. And we also have our outgoing treasurer, Mike Webber. Mike, are you here today? Hello, Mike. Thank you for your service to the diocese. You have stood by us as we've gone through a very difficult time, so we thank you very much for that. Jason Shimko from St. Mark's, Milwaukee, can't be here today, but he's also another very important member of the Finance Committee. These guys meet once a month with me to review everything. They review the financials, they review any financial or business proposals that are ultimately going to reach to the meeting of the Executive Council, and they will make a recommendation to the Executive Council, which obviously the Executive Council is going to take really seriously in their own deliberations. But what you see here is a process. This is how we run, this is how we operate. And so thank you so much to all those volunteers. I'm going to stop now, and I imagine if anyone's got any questions, they can just ask those. But essentially, just the key takeaways from the budget is the direction's the same as it was last year, just more so. 70% of our funding is going straight back into mission and ministry work. We've reduced overheads, the diocesan machinery, the cost of just keeping that running to the minimum that you could really get away with. We have, relative to our peers, a far smaller staff. But I think that it's an effective staff, and I think that it suits our style of operation as we become more decentralised, and I think it will work in our favour. It means we could be quick to respond to things. And just know this, parishes, I'm here for you. I am your help desk. If you need assistance with anything financial, and that includes your bank reconciliations or anything else that is not going, swimmingly well for you, pick up the phone to me or send me an email. I will get into your accounting system and help you directly, hands-on, reporting, budgeting, anything around church pension group or systems, clergy compensation, benefits. Give me a call. I do it for a lot of parishes. Some of you I don't think I've heard from as yet, but I do get repeat business. So you might, if you want some references, I'm happy to supply some. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Caroline. We are now going to have time for questions about the budget. Questions are limited to obtaining information or seeking clarification. If your question asks about the relative goodness or badness of any item or action, then please wait until the debate portion of the budget consideration to ask that question. If your question reflects your opinion, not just seeks to make the presentation clear for all, again, please wait until the debate. So at this point, we will have 10 minutes for questions for clarification. And again, if you have those, please come to one of the microphones. Oh, I think we see one coming forward.
Hello, Lars Skoglund, St. Michael's Racine. Just looking under the parish programs, which is budgeted for $794,850. Right below that it says 195 of that is the multi-year strategic development support. I was looking through, what other things go under the parish programs? Because that's like another $600,000. So what falls under the auspices of parish programs?
So also under parish programs will be direct grants to parishes. So you probably saw that in 2024, we're forecasting $300,000 worth of grants flowing out to parishes from various diocesan endowment fund distributions. There are also full ministry grants, which are kind of a regular thing that we do. And it is actually in the report, so I'm just having a quick look to see what else I can tell you that's in there. No, I think that's everything that's in that.
Can I ask a follow-up clarifying question?
Sure.
Is there a place where the list of what those grants are and how and when they are applied for and distributed? Is there one central place for that?
Yeah, there is actually. Well, firstly, the process is that parishes apply for those grants. So there's a grants application process. Okay. Then the parish support group actually review the applicants. Okay. Then they decide how much, a parish might, for example, apply for, say, a $10,000 grant for a youth ministry program. They may get awarded all or some of that, and then they will get a letter back, via that process. So that's a committee Father Scott, I think, described earlier in his description of how, his operations work. Then those grants are captured, checks are written to them, and it's actually captured in the accounting system into the various subcategories. So for reporting purposes, you can see what grants are, for example, for a music program, some music ministry grants were given, what are parish outreach programs, what are, say, for example, youth ministry programs or things like that. But yeah, there's a lot of documentation underpinning it.
So right now, that Father Scott is the resource for that, for grants?
Well, there's a process, and it involves Father Scott's parish resource team and also the finance side of it as well.
Okay. That helps some. Thank you.
Send me an email if you've got any really specific questions.
Any other questions? Hearing and seeing none. A motion to formally place the budget into consideration is now in order. Do I hear such a motion? Is there a second? So the motion has been seconded, and now we will move to debate on the budget. Mr. Washbush?
Frequently, these instructions have gone longer than the debate in the last ones. By canon, we are prohibited from accepting a deficit budget. So if anyone in the course of debate wishes to make amendment to it that would alter the total price of the budget, then you also have to, as part of your motion, propose an offset that would allow us to keep the budget in balance with stated assessments and keeping it as it is at the moment. Because we're not allowed to adopt a deficit budget. So in order to comply with our own canons that the will of an earlier version of this body put in to keep budgeting an on-track process, should you wish to make any amendment, then please consider both sides. Thank you.
So now we have an hour budgeted for debate on the budget. Is there anyone that would like to speak for or against the budget? Okay, a vote is now in order. Do we need any instructions on that?
If you intend not to use a voice vote and use the devices.
We'll use the devices, yeah. We're going to use the devices for our votes. Yeah. Do you have the...
Is Valerie McAuliffe here? Because I'm really, really sorry. I forgot to announce your name earlier. Valerie, please accept my apologies. Valerie is the treasurer of St. Dunstan's, and she is a very valuable member of Finance Committee, despite the fact I forgot to say her name. So sorry, Valerie.
Okay, we are going to close the vote, and we have approval for our budget at 94%. Thank you very much. And we are right on schedule, I have to say. How proud I am of that. So we have now scheduled a 15-minute break, and I'm going to ask for that because I myself need one. So let's be back here promptly at 2:45. Thank you. We are going to continue on now. The Lord be with you. And a hush comes over the room. As you all know, I am sure, for the last 2 years, members of our Diocese of Milwaukee, Fond du Lac, and Eau Claire have been working and discerning together what the possibilities of the mission of our Episcopal Church in Wisconsin could be. Last year at this time at our convention, we brought before you a timeline of what that discernment could look like. And then after our convention, our task forces worked diligently to bring the steering committee their reports that went into the proposal for reunion that was given to our members at the end of June. Between that time and now, we have held 19 town hall meetings that included over 400 people from around the state. Yes. There have been several clergy gatherings to discuss the implications of a reunion for their parishes and our common life together. And we have spoken one-on-one to countless individuals whose love for this church and for their dioceses have been an inspiration to witness. And now we bring to you this resolution that you have before you on this day. A resolution that our siblings in Fond du Lac and Eau Claire are also discerning today, to give you, the people, now the chance to put your voice to where you believe the Holy Spirit is calling us as a church. And if that calling should be, thank you, and if that calling should be to continue our work of discernment together for reunification. We are confident that whatever the outcome of these proceedings today, that we will go forward from this day united as a church and committed to mission to bring the good news of the love of Christ to our parishes, our communities, our state, and our world. And so as we begin the deliberation on this resolution, I would ask that you would join me in prayer for this time on our journey together. No, not yet. No. It's not that one. Almighty God, we come before you asking grace and wisdom for all who are called this day to discern your mission for the church in Wisconsin. May we in the Diocese of Milwaukee listen to one another in humility, speak our truth in love, and always seek your will. We pray in the name of Jesus, the head of the church. Amen. And now I'm going to call once again on Mr. John Washbush, Chair of the Committee of Dispatch of Business, to present the special rules of order and our rules for debate.
The purpose of debate among these is to allow deputies to hear all sides on an issue, and so arrive at a decision when the time to express a decision arrives. Deputies are expected to weigh what happens here and allow the Spirit, both of the Assembly and the Holy Spirit, to influence them as this process goes forward. You were elected as deputies and not as delegates for that reason. You were deputized to come here and use your own will, influenced by the will of the Assembly and what happens in the Assembly, to cast your votes, as opposed to delegates who would have been given a position before they left home and would express it when they arrive. So it is well within your responsibility to be swayed by what you hear. And to that end, and reinforce that all deputies are people of goodwill who just may have different points of view, I would just like to reiterate some of our norms for debate. When you rise to speak, please address the chair of the assembly, the president, as the embodiment of the assembly. The observations and comments and opinions are being expressed for the consideration of all and not in direct response to another deputy. So please address them to the chair. When we come to vote, keep in mind that not all will agree, that deputies came to their positions from how they were moved in their heart and by what they heard here, and after careful and prayerful consideration. So when speeches conclude or the results of the vote are announced, we'd ask you to please refrain from any public display of approval or disapproval. When the items have been concluded, we will respectfully move on to the next item on the agenda. Okay. So, with the support of the Trialogue Steering Committee and the parliamentarians and dispatches of businesses of all three of the dioceses, the Committee on the Dispatch of Business would like to put a motion for your consideration at this point. We would move to suspend the rules so that Resolution Number 3, Trialogue Reunification, can be considered in a special fashion. First, that Resolution 3 be considered as it is presented to you now, as a whole and without any further amendment. Second, that any motions that are made to refer it, postpone it, or to table the consideration of this resolution by this body at this convention be considered out of order. And third, that these measures apply only to the consideration of the reunification resolution. So by way of explanation for this motion, each of the three dioceses is taking up the matter today and voting to move forward or not in a common process toward a common goal. To make this possible, we're asking each diocese to consider a common proposal. Since all three dioceses are considering the matter in convention today, having a decision made today in this convention allows this body to deliberate for itself without potentially being influenced by the outcome of the votes of the other two dioceses. As a parliamentary note, this requires a higher voting standard than we typically use because the suspension of the rules, particularly one on amendment, reflects making a change to the heart of the parliamentary process. And so we will ask your approval for this special set of consideration rules for this resolution only, and it will require a 2/3 majority to be approved. And so with that, we put the motion before you. Because it is the report of the Committee on the Dispatch of Business, it does not require a second.
We have that in the... Yep. So we will vote now for the special rule of order.
Regardless of the wording that you see with the word resolution there, the item on the floor for consideration are the special rules only. Your vote as in affirmative or against at this point in no way influences the outcome of Resolution 3. That has its full round of debate to take part yet. The generic one that I gave him earlier would work too. The motion as presented. That was a generic that I gave him. Yeah.
So do we need to stop this vote? Because this is for the resolution.
Be able to redo it anyway, so it doesn't matter. We could use it in this fashion. Okay. So.
Scott, can I ask you a process question? Are you withdrawing this one, or are we using it to determine the outcome of this motion?
Sorry for the confusion, everyone. We're making some clarifications ourselves.
Okay, we can use it as a signaling device for the outcome of this motion. So though the word resolution is in it, you are voting on the motion in its three elements. That the resolution be considered in its entirety without amendment, that we vote on it for today, and that this special order pertain only to the consideration of resolution number 3. That's the matter before you at the moment. So feel free to use your device to indicate your approval or disapproval of that motion, to consider resolution 3 without amendment, to consider it today, and to have those rules pertain only to this resolution.
Is that it? All right. Looks like it. All right. So we have, we can close that, and we are at 96% in favor. So thank you for that. We have the 2/3 vote that we need for the special rules. So that then leads us into a time of debate. We have 60 minutes scheduled for debate on this resolution 3 for the trialogue reunification resolution. Again, we have our 3 microphones. If you would go to the microphones, if you are planning on speaking for or against, again, you will have 2 minutes to do that. We also, again, ask you to address by, sorry, we ask you to introduce yourself and tell us if you are speaking for or against the resolution at the time. We also ask, because I don't remember if you just said this or not, that we don't respond to what people are saying either for or against through applause. So if we would keep our applause to ourselves. Thank you. Yes, David.
I'm David Simmons. I'm the rector of St. Matthias Episcopal Church in Waukesha. I stand in favor of the resolution. I'm actually addressing you as your ecumenical officer for the diocese today. One of the jobs I have as ecumenical officer is to try to explain Episcopal Church polity to non-Episcopalians. So one of the questions I often get is, well, how many dioceses, what are your middle judicatories like in Wisconsin? And I'm saying, well, we've got 3, and that usually freaks them out. And they're like, well, how many congregations do you have? And I'm like, well, 52, 38, and 13, which usually brings up a period of silence while they absorb that. For instance, the Greater Milwaukee Synod of the ELCA, and there are 7 ELCA synods in Wisconsin, the Greater Milwaukee Synod has 115 congregations just in it, compared to all of our dioceses put together being 103. Or the Wisconsin Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church is statewide and has 400 congregations with 1 episcopate. So it's really kind of hard to explain. The next question they usually say is, how do you sustain that with 52 or 38 or 13? I remind people that even with 103 congregations together, that doesn't even make us a large diocese. Large dioceses are like the Diocese of Virginia at 180 or New York at 190. So, I mean, just speaking to it purely from that idea of size, it's a big geographic size, but from size of number of congregations, we're still not talking about forming anything large compared to our ecumenical compatriots or in the Episcopal Church.
Thank you. John, please.
Good afternoon. I'm John Johnson from Grace Church in Madison. I rise today to speak in favor and in support of the resolution to continue the reunification process. We have heard words today, words opportunity, trust, faith, jump, leap, innovation. And to me, it's summed up as reunification offers these through a rebirth, a renewal, and a new era of united cooperation and collaboration. A number of other states, including our sister state next door, Minnesota, has a diocese of 1 statewide. I'm blessed and honored to work across Wisconsin, and you know, there's more than just the Packers that brings Wisconsin Scotties together. For Wisconsin Episcopalians, our God, our faith, our church, and ministries bring us together. Unity gives us a statewide voice. I attend and have loved Grace Church on the Capitol Square. We provide at Grace a visual representation of our Episcopalian ministry, our faith, and our social justice commitment, and outreach to our state's leaders across the street in the Capitol. To me, it seems that an Episcopal Diocese of Wisconsin sends that unified voice, advancing an Episcopalian voice, advancing our belief and mission together statewide. So, I can't promise that our canon of the ordinary is going to be in the pool, but it seems to me that it's a pool we should jump into together. And go Packers. Thank you.
Father Steve Capitelli, St. Albans, Sussex, St. Francis, Menominee Falls. Reverend President, I rise in support of both this resolution and of reunion, generally speaking. When we started this process some number of months ago, I intentionally adopted a personal policy of neutrality. One might even say agnosticism as far as the pros and the cons went. Since that time, after reading the documents provided and in conversation with clergy and laity, I have come to the conclusion that this is something we truly need to do. While I recognize that there will be issues along the way and even after a reunion has been accomplished, which will need clarification and possible revision, I think we dare not allow the perfect to become the enemy of the good. It seems to me that reunion is the only realistic way forward. I'm reminded of the verse from the book of the Revelation, "Behold, I make all things new." I respectfully suggest that the Episcopal Church in Wisconsin is in desperate need of letting the Holy Spirit do something new with us. It has become all too clear that what we have been doing is not working and has not worked for a long time. Hence, I believe that reunion may well be the new thing to which we are called. I further believe that reunion could bring about a new sense of purpose, new energy. And conversely, I fear that rejection of reunion would have just the opposite effect, an increase in lethargy, hopelessness, and dysfunction. I realize that today we are not voting upon reunion itself, but on a mechanism which will continue our discernment. I urge my sisters and brothers in the convention to support the resolution before the convention today and to support reunion at Eastertide. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other voices that would like to be heard? Great, thank you.
Hello, my name is Greg Bell. I'm a member of Christ Church in Whitefish Bay. And, I am not a voting member, so I cannot actually speak. But I encourage all of you in your vote. Thank you, thank you.
Okay. There.
My name is Fred Ellis. I'm from St. Mark's Beaver Dam. I am a past resident of the Diocese of Eau Claire. when we lived there 30 years ago. It was a vibrant diocese. We had many, many churches, but bad leadership and the economy is closed many of the churches. And my hope is, with unification, that our friends up there can use our guidance to strengthen and rebuild these churches that have gone by the wayside. Thank you.
Thank you. And I did just have another parliamentary moment here that, Greg, if you would like to speak, because you are on the standing committee, you do have voice here without a vote, but you do have voice.
No, not yet.
Correct. Not yet, what?
Just by way of information, if the unification goes through and the draft constitution and canons that we have put together for them were to be our operating guidelines today, standing committee members who are not deputies would still have voice in the assembly to share their leadership experience. So it was a comment to the president, not a comment to the assembly, but that's what it was. In the draft constitution and canons, that's something that might be in effect.
See what we can look forward to? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Beverly Willie.
Come a little bit closer.
I'm Beverly Willie, and I'm from Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. And my comment about the reunification is more on a personal note. We all look at the history of the church and of all the churches, and our older population and church has often been, for the younger ones, just the way things are. And I think this is going to be part of our growth, because now we're starting many things new and fresh, and this is going to be a learning experience for our younger parishioners and their growing children and families. It's not like we just go to church and we're quiet on the pew. We are now learning all these things together. We're building our churches, we're growing our families, and I think it's going to be a new and a fresh start for all of us.
Thank you.
Matthew Buterbaugh, St. Luke's Racine. I remembered my name this time. Would just point out to, similar to what David Simmons had pointed out about judicatories in other denominations, in our province, we are not the only ones having similar conversations. East and West Michigan have been trying to work on some sort of merger for several years now, and the process has been a bit fraught. Indianapolis and Northern Indiana are also looking ahead for several years from now at how they might enter into a process. I would love to see the diocese in Wisconsin being a model for how you can work forward through differences, through cultural questions, through canonical differences. And as a reminder, this resolution is not solidifying what the reunification, it's entering into a process. And I would love us to be the ones to model that process for other dioceses around the province and the church.
Thank you.
So I speak in favor.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, I would like to direct us to another moment of prayer before we call this vote, as this is indeed one of the most important things that we've had in front of us for a very long time as a diocese. And so this is a prayer of discernment for reunification that our folks on the task force for prayer and discernment for the trialogue has written for us. Gracious and loving God, it is your voice that calls each of us to play our part in the story of your church in Wisconsin. For you have made us for your purpose of revealing love in a challenging time and in a divided world. As our three dioceses discern the possibility of reunion, we continue to seek your will for us. Be with us in our reservations and doubt, and be with us in our eagerness and hope. Enlighten our hearts to know what things we ought to do. Enlighten our minds to know what things we need to leave behind. Enlighten our spirits to embrace the future none but you know. Give us peace, give us courage, give us hope, and give us the perseverance necessary to continue to follow your lead. Amen. And with that, I ask for us to call the vote. No.
No, that's easier.
Is that
So we'll just wait for it to stop moving.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Are you doing math?
I wasn't planning to, but
No, that's okay.
it's 90%.
Okay.
All right, so I captured the data split.
Perfect, thank you.
Although he can probably.
Yeah, yeah.
Good flush.
Can you refresh it maybe and see?
If it gets to where the actual thing happens,
It will be violated. We just did some math. We just did some math. That's okay. Thank you. It's all right.
Rounds to 92%.
Okay. All right, we have a vote. At 92%, we are in favor of the resolution. And we have word that both Eau Claire and Fond du Lac are also in favor. So we will be having a meeting again in hopefully May 4th as a 3 dioceses together to have this special election at that time, and we hope that you all will be there as well.
Do we get to come in costume since it's Star Wars Day?
No, we're not coming in costume because it's Star Wars Day. Okay, I'm going to compose myself. And at this time, I would like to call upon the Reverend Meredith Harmon to present this year's resolutions of privilege and courtesy.
Ladies and gentlemen, be it resolved that this 176th Annual Convention sends its blessings and good wishes to the Planning Committee for this convention and for volunteers who helped make the convention a success. Be it further resolved that this gathering express its heartfelt thanks and gratitude in acknowledgement of the diligent work of the Bishop's staff at the Nicholson House in all of its work and in preparation for the conduct of this event, including the volunteers who assisted in the preparation of all of the convention materials, especially to Gracie Van Spinkeren and the Reverend Marge Kiss, who's indefatigable recording secretary of this body, without whose efforts our work today might be unknown to the generations ahead. Be it further resolved that thanks be given to the Chair of Nominations Committee, the Reverend Matthew Buterbaugh, Treasurer Mike Weber, the Parliamentarian Dispatch of Business, and Chair of the Resolutions Committee, John Washbush, for their assistance and leadership in many ways, visible and invisible. Be it further resolved that this convention extend its greetings and offer prayers of its members to the clergy and people of the Diocese of Milwaukee, their bishop, the Right Reverend Oscar Stephen Monunga, and his wife Agnes, to Sister Helena, and the sisters of the community of St. Mary of Nazareth and Calvary, and their house in Nuala, Tanzania. Be it further resolved that this convention extend its greetings and offer the prayers of its members to the clergy and the people of the Diocese of Machakos in Kenya, their bishop, the Right Reverend Joseph Kioko Mutingi, and his wife, Mama Bishop Elizabeth Kioko, and the Reverend Canon Martin Ulandu Wisange, and his wife, Sonorina. Be it further resolved that this convention extend its greetings and offer prayers of its members to the clergy and people of St. Mark's Jeanette, Haiti, as we live into a new way of ministry and partnership. Be it further resolved that thanks be given to Mark Charles, Native American activist, public speaker, and author of Unsettling Truths, for sharing his prophetic wisdom on healing and conciliation with our diocese in Madison, Milwaukee, and Pewaukee in January of this year. Be it further resolved that this convention extends its greetings to our ecumenical partners in the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America, to Reverend Paul D. Erickton, Bishop of Greater Milwaukee Synod, To the Reverend Joy Mordison-Wiebe, Bishop of the South Central Wisconsin Synod, and to Reverend Felix Malpica, Bishop of La Crosse Area Synod, and to the people and the clergy and of the parishes in the Moravian Church, to Reverend Bruce Nelson, President of the Western District Synod, and to the people and clergy of its parishes, to all the other members of the Churches of Wisconsin Council of Churches, Reverend Carrie Parker, Executive Director, and to the people and clergy of all the parishes, and to all other churches, including the Roman Catholic Church, to the Most Reverend Jerome Litsky, Archbishop of Milwaukee Archdiocese, and to the Most Reverend Donald J. Hying, Bishop of the Madison Diocese, and to the people and clergy of all of those churches' parishes, that we might continue to seek unity among all Christians and to serve the world together in the name of Christ. Be it further resolved that this convention send its greetings and prayers to the people and clergy of the Diocese of Fond du Lac and to their bishop, the Right Reverend Matthew Allen Gunter, and his wife Leslie. Be it further resolved that this convention send its greetings and prayers to the people and clergy of the Diocese of Eau Claire and their provisional bishop, the Right Reverend Matthew Allen Gunter, and his wife Leslie. Be it further resolved that this convention express its gratitude for the leadership, dedication, pastoral guidance of our retired provisional bishop, the Right Reverend Jeffrey Dean Lee, and his wife Lisa. Be it further resolved that this convention express its gratitude for the leadership, dedication, and pastoral guidance of our retired bishop, the Right Reverend Stephen Miller, and his wife Cindy. And finally, be it likewise resolved. Oh, one more, sorry. No, it doesn't. That this 176th convention of the Diocese of Milwaukee, that this convention send its greetings and prayers to Prudence Prue White, widow of Right Reverend John Roger J. White, 10th Bishop of the Diocese of Milwaukee.
Thank you. The resolutions of privilege and courtesy have been placed before you by the committee. Because the committee has brought them to you, they are considered moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this resolution? I would request that we have a voice vote on this. All those in favor of approving this resolution, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. And now it is time. We have come to the end of our business session, and our convention is concluded. So I'm going to offer some prayers and blessing, and then Deacon Marge will dismiss us. Would you all stand, please, if you're able? Almighty Father, whose blessed Son before his passion prayed for his disciples that they might be one, as you and he are one, grant that your church, being bound together in love and obedience to you, may be united in one body by the one Spirit, that the world may believe in him whom you have sent, your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen. Live without fear. Your Creator has made you holy, has always protected you, and loves you as a mother. Go in peace to follow the good road, and may God's blessing in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit be with you now and always. Amen.
Go in peace to love and serve the Lord.
Thanks be to God. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.